everybody, Andrew Field here. I just want to say before the video starts, I was thinking about doing maybe a live stream on YouTube to talk about all of those things that are going on. So if you wanted me to do that, just let me know in the comments, please and thank you. Alright, let's get into the video. So dozens of Secret Service members had a self-quarantine after Trump's Tulsa rally. It seems that I was wondering why the cases didn't skyrocket in Oklahoma, especially Tulsa, after the rally, but it seems like the low turnout helped with that, so that was good. Kentucky in their primary tried to suppress their vote and shut the entry to the voting machines. People were demanding the right to vote. House Judiciary panel prepared to subpoena Barr. I don't know if they did yet, but they were preparing to, the report said. Barr tried to undermine the prosecutors in New York, tried to undermine Michael Cohen's case, along with Roger Stone and other people in Trump's circle. A federal appeals court ordered a lower court judge to dismiss the criminal prosecution against Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn. So this is pretty much treason by Bill Barr, because he's using his power in the wrong way to protect Trump instead of allowing the rule of law to happen accordingly. Let's see. Senate Democrats blocked a GOP bill aimed at changing police practices, and that seems bad, but in hindsight, it was and it stalled bipartisan efforts for police abuse. But in hindsight, it's because the Democrats said the bill failed to establish meaningful accountability for police. Like for chokeholds, they would say like recommended, where the Democrats wanted to actually ban it. So it didn't seem like they were doing enough. The Trump administration put U.S. Marshals to protect monuments, and he was saying that people would go to jail. So he's really caring about these monuments, but I don't know. I think, they deserve to be in history museums, and people need to learn about, these kind of people, like people that were slave owners. And because we have to remember that our founders were slave owners, so our country was, you know, even though it was sought to be perfect, was not perfect, and it still isn't perfect. But we need to learn about history, I believe, so it's less likely to repeat itself. If we remove history, then we're doomed to repeat it. If we don't know what's happened, then we're just going to have to find out. So, I'm not saying slavery would be back or anything, but I mean, like, if we don't learn about racial equality, then, we're probably not gonna move forward toward racial equality. We need to learn about the past, I think, so that, we have greater appreciation of everybody, and that could probably help to see each other more as equal, knowing what has happened in the past. So, with the coronavirus in the U.S. is the worst it has ever been. It's surprising to say that in June when this happened in March, but it's true because three of our most populous U.S. states hit all-time highs of coronavirus daily case numbers. There was an article that said cities with Black Lives Matter protests have not seen spikes in COVID-19. I know that can be hard to believe, but I think it makes kind of sense. Like, it may have bumped numbers a little bit, but I think it may not be the main factor, because when you think about it, with the Black Lives Matter protests, most of the people were wearing masks. Not everybody, but most of the people. But the whole idea with the reopening of the economy was there was a lot of people that were saying, like, like Trump and Pence, if they say, like, the virus is over, then people will not, protect themselves. And if they're reopening more, then they're not social distancing. So you can see why reopening the economy would cause this to happen over the protests. Even though I think it was a little bit with the protests, I think it was mostly with the reopening and people not following social distancing, thinking that it wasn't a problem anymore. Feds have sent more than 1 million stimulus checks to dead people, totaling $1.4 billion. So that was surprising and pretty sad. 3 sheriffs in North Carolina declared they will not enforce Democratic Governor Roy Cooper's statewide mask mandate because North Carolina is getting hit pretty hard with coronavirus right now, so they should be fired. If I were the governor, I would fire them. And it's yeah, Washington governor paused moving to phase 4 in 8 counties. The U.S. reported its highest daily number of daily cases in June at 40,000. I think 2 days ago it was like 47,000. Yesterday it was like 42,000. It's a really bad sign. Because if you look at every like other developed country, if you look at France, they had their peak and then they went down. You had Spain, same thing, went up and down. Italy, which was the center before America. Um, yeah, Germany. The UK was not exactly like that, but I think they're starting to shape out that way. So it just shows how America is handling this so bad, and it's a lot Trump's fault because he's sending the wrong signals. But um, clearly, we're on a bad path when we're going up the same way that Brazil is, when we already had our high, and then we were starting to go down, and now we're peaking higher than we have the last time. So, California reported its biggest single day increase in cases with 6,000 cases. Florida reported almost 9,000 cases in one day, and then they reported 9,500 yesterday. Florida and Texas governors are still not mandating masks. It's really obvious that that should be the case. That's like the main thing you can do is wearing masks when you're inside places like bars or restaurants or grocery stores. If both people wear masks, it's a lot more effective. But at least everyone should be wearing masks. Um, the Miami-Dade mayor closed beaches for July 4th weekend, and he required everyone to wear masks. And he said that fines would be issued to those who do not wear a mask, and the fifth strike would be small jail time. And I really like the Miami mayor. He was interviewed on CNN, and he seems to be doing the best he can with the governor not mandating and not really taking much responsibility. Texas paused reopening efforts. Texas and Florida closed their bars. I think that if being in their shoes, what they should do is issue stay-at-home orders. I don't know how long it was there. They reopened too early, but I think that they should just do it for I'd say like 2 weeks, because I feel that I think it was Texas that said, like one of the mayors in Texas said in Austin, I think it was the mayor of Austin, Texas, said that the hospital capacity will be overrun, they predict, in 7 to 10 days. Well, if that's some serious crap. So I think that they should issue stay-at-home orders for like 2 weeks and then get people to social distance and wear masks, and then that would slow down the curve, hopefully. Um, Texas also restricted restaurants and outdoor recreation, became the first state to reimpose a lockdown that had been lifted. Um, the world passed two grim milestones in the past couple of days: 10 million cases worldwide and 500,000 deaths. The Trump administration, meanwhile, asked the Supreme Court to invalidate the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. And even though there are millions already registered with the Affordable Care Act, of course, with the pandemic, thousands more signed up since the pandemic started. Nancy Pelosi denounced it as an act of unfathomable cruelty, because if he were to succeed, he would kick tens of millions of Americans off their health care insurance when there's a pandemic that's the worst it's ever been right now. So I hope it doesn't go through. The Supreme Court seems to be doing pretty well right now, so hopefully they will not allow that to happen. Pretty remarkably, the Trump campaign postponed Pence's events in Florida and Arizona. He was supposed to have campaign events there, but Pence will still go to the states, so maybe he'll get it. The CDC chief, Robert Redfield, warned the actual amount of U.S. positive cases is probably 10 times what officials are confirming with testing. That's crazy enough. And then there was a CDC survey that found the number of U.S. cases maybe 6 to 24 times what actually is actually reported. So I think I did the math. So right now we were at 2.5 yesterday. Now we're at, I think, 2.6 million cases. But using the number of 2.5 million, which is around where we're at, 10 times that is 25 million cases. So that's the lower end. I think 24 times the 2.5 million, I think was 60 million. I'm pretty sure it was 60 million. So if that were to be true, and it was actually 24 times higher, there would actually be 60 million Americans that at one point had coronavirus. Now, I don't know if it was 60 million, but I do believe that the CDC, they believe, and I believe that the case number is a lot higher than what is actually reported. Because especially when you see in some states, and like I always thought with Florida that it was lowballed because, Florida's like the perfect mix for coronavirus to happen, and it was very low numbers. Now it's more reasonable, obviously. But I think there's places that, seem to be very low in numbers. So overall, I think that the U.S. count is a lot higher than it is reported, which means we need to take it more seriously than we have. At least in these states that are spiking right now. If you're in a state that's not spiking, like the one I'm in, I think you still need to take it seriously when you go out in public places. You need to wear masks. You try not to be close to other people. Don't go to places that you don't absolutely need to be. Um, I think if you go places, you just need to social distance and wear masks, and you'll be okay. Penn said he was happy to hear that younger Americans are a lot of the new cases because I guess, less deaths, but that's still a huge problem because of how fast they can spread the virus. The Coronavirus Task Force held their first briefing in 2 months this past week, and Pence basically declared victory, saying, "We flattened the curve. We saved a lot of lives." That's not the case. If the curve were to be flattened right now, then you could say that we've saved a lot of lives. But the curve, if you see, it was starting to level off. It wasn't fully, but it was starting to level off, and then it just goes like this. It's just the active cases, the daily new cases have all gone up a lot. So we are in a huge coronavirus problem right now. Even if the president and vice president don't like to say it is where we're at right now. Biden said if he were president, he would mandate everyone to wear a mask, and that it seems like obvious. Trump doesn't want to do it because of his publicity and what he's created, but that should be the first thing that should have been done. Workers removed thousands of social distancing stickers before Trump's Tulsa rally. So I guess they tried to do that just for the publicity, and then right before his event, he didn't want to tell his followers to social distance at all. And while coronavirus was spiking, Trump snuck out of the White House to play golf when he pledged to stay in D.C. The House of Representatives voted to give Washington, D.C. statehood. Trump and the GOP really wouldn't like that because it'd mean 2 more Senate seats for Democrats and probably seats in the House as well, even though it wouldn't be that many. And Biden should make it a priority, though, I think, for D.C. and Puerto Rico to have statehood if elected, which I think he will be at this point. Can't be 100% confident, but I'm pretty confident, and I think that's something that should be done. Not only because they give Democrats more seats, but I think that it would help DC and especially Puerto Rico if they became states. Because where Puerto Rico is right now, it doesn't get the attention that it needs. I think it would, being a statehood. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio planned to paint a Black Lives Matter mural in front of Trump Tower, which I think would be really smart. Colorado governor appointed a special prosecutor to reopen the probe of Elijah McClain's death. It came after millions of people signed an online petition and thousands called the local officials in Colorado. Minneapolis City Council took a step toward abolishing its police department. It plans to replace it with the Department of Community Safety and Violence Prevention. Devin Nunes cannot sue. A judge found that Devin Nunes cannot sue Twitter accounts that pose as his mother and cow. I found the Devin Nunes' cow account, and it's pretty funny. And I guess there's one posing as his mom, too. People get really creative, I'll say that. Um, the corrupt Republican Senate confirmed Trump's 200th judicial nominee. Intelligence, okay, this was really big and really crazy, but I do believe it. U.S. intelligence found that Russia offered Afghan militants Taliban-linked bounties to kill U.S. and U.K. troops in Afghanistan, and it also said that the Trump administration knew for months. But not only did they do nothing, but they rewarded Russia because they were talking about Russia getting into the UN, or sorry, no, not UN. They were trying to get Russia into the G7, and they were also talking about pulling troops from Germany, which would both help Russia. Russia, of course, denied the allegations, as you would expect. North Korea said it would counter nuclear with nuclear over hostile U.S. policy because Trump failed with North Korea as well, where there was no deal made. It was just a photo op going into North Korea. Nothing was done, and we've probably just worsened our relationships with Japan and South Korea. So, really stupid. Trump has no second-term plans. He was asked by Sean Hannity on Fox, and he went into a speech talking about how he had no government experience and started talking about coming to the White House, for the first time and all this bullshit. But he really has no plans for the second term, so that's pretty sad. Um, Now that it's less than 6 months from the election. Trump may not want a second term and pull out so he doesn't lose badly. That's what one of the hosts were talking about, and I could kind of see it because I think a source close to the president said that he fears losing a lot more than he'd want to win. So if the polls are right and he really is losing as bad as it looks, he may pull out before the election because he'd rather have it as the incumbent like pulling out of the election versus an incumbent losing really badly. This week marked the 70th anniversary of the Korean War. Disney delayed reopening Disneyland. I'm not exactly sure on Disney World. I saw this and this is really cool. Disney's redoing the log raft ride Splash Mountain, made after a racist movie, and they're not changing the ride, but they're making it about Princess and the Frog, like the layout, but it'll still be like a log ride. GNC, which sells like protein powder and vitamins, a health brand, filed for bankruptcy. Is closing nearly 1,400 stores by the end of 2020. But the CEO is getting a $2 million bonus, which is like he put his company into bankruptcy, but then he's getting a bonus as the company like dies out. I don't really understand it. Also, this is some sad news. Chuck E. Cheese filed for bankruptcy. I knew Chuck E. Cheese pretty well as a kid, and a lot of people went there a couple times in their childhood. So it sucks that other people won't get to experience that. But it's just how it is with places closing down. There's probably going to be a lot of businesses that don't make past this coronavirus, and what's going on in the U.S. is only going to make it worse because if places have to go backwards, like it seems like they will, businesses will have to shut down again after opening, like bars will have to in Florida and Texas, and that makes it really hard for them. Barack Obama had his first appearance on the 2020 virtual campaign trail with Joe Biden. The fundraiser made $7.6 million. And like I mentioned a bit earlier, Joe Biden in recent polls, I know the polls aren't everything, but in recent polls, Joe Biden is leading Trump in 6 battleground states. Trump won in 2016, and I think nationally it's like 50 to 36% Biden. The polls are not enough though, and we still need to go out and vote. So that'll do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I hope you guys are doing well at home. So I wish you all the best. See you in the next video. Peace out.